There's a lot of excitement around New Orleans Saints undrafted free agent rookies, not the least of which being local prospect and Nicholls State graduate Dai'Jean Dixon. But what does maybe the first person to really believe in the wide receiver's ability have to say about all the expectations? We got all that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? Welcome into this Thursday episode of Locked On Saints, your daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much as always. Make it Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget that we're free and available on all podcast apps and on YouTube as well. And I'm your host, Ross Jackson, at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter. You can find me over on USA Today's Saints Wire, Tuesdays on Locked On NFL, and here with you every single Monday through Friday on Locked On Saints. And a special episode for all you Locked On Who Dats out there. Thank you very much for being here with us today. We're going to be joined by Robert Brock, an NFL agent from Plan 365, born and raised here in New Orleans, Louisiana, LSU graduate, and now the owner of his own agency, repping several players either in the NFL or on their way to the NFL, including New Orleans Saints wide receiver and undrafted free agent Dai'Jean Dixon. Let's get to know Robert Brock. All right, everybody, we are joined today by the one, the only, my boy, Robert Brock, NFL agent over at Plan 365 on Twitter at BlessedAgentRB. Now, Robert, your Plan 365, that's your baby, right?
Yeah, for sure, bro. Without a doubt.
And you're able to pull all of this together here, being from the city of New Orleans, being from the state of Louisiana, and then be able to bring all this up. How did this all come about for you, man? What an awesome trajectory you've had.
Right. So, man, it kind of really just started, like, in high school, really, man. I went to Jesuit, and I played basketball, but I always loved football, but I was, like, small. But so I decided in, like, 11th grade, man, that I wanted to be an NFL agent. And New Orleans, like, we have so much talent on the football side, it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of, like, swayed me that way into, like, being an NFL agent. So from high school, man, I went to college. I went to LSU. And then, like I said, bro, there's just so much talent from Louisiana. So, you know, you can always go back home and find some talent or somebody to represent back home.
100%.
So that was always, like, the vision, man. And it's kind of coming to fruition. So I'm excited about it.
That's so dope. Like, I love the fact you're able to come up that way and then come through the city of New Orleans into LSU. And we're going to talk about him a little bit more later on, but you're also repping a guy from New Orleans as well. So you came up repping New Orleans. Now you're literally representing New Orleans, right? A New Orleans prospect in Dai'Jean Dixon. Did y'all go back before all this started?
Well, man, the craziest thing about our story is so I'm really close with his family. And I was looking for Dejean. I was trying to get in touch with him, man, for like a year. And I just couldn't get in touch with him. I didn't know he was related. So we have like, it's just crazy because like, it's like a family, it's like a mutual family member. And I didn't know he was related to the family member, you know, and when she told me and she said he plays for Nicholls, I'm like, there's only one guy at Nicholls that I know of. And I'm like, are you talking about Dejean Dixon? And she was like, yeah. She was like, that's my cousin. And I was like, are you kidding me?
If that ain't the most New Orleans story ever, I don't know what it is.
Literally. And I was like, cheating, man. Look, you gotta get him on the phone right now. I'm like, man, I've been looking for him for a year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And our first conversation, man, it went really well. Because like that first conversation, he understood the plan. He understood everything. You know what I mean? And it was just a beautiful conversation. And we just got really close, like really quickly, you know, because we kind of have like the same visions for each other, you know? So I'm building an agency from scratch. He was coming from a small school. So it just made sense to do it together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It was a beautiful thing, man.
That's so dope. And how important is it to you to be from this city, building this from scratch in the city and working with a player also from the city? Oh, and by the way, also going to a team here in the city.
Right. And that's the beauty of it, man. It's just like in New Orleans, bro, it's just like nothing's given to you. You know, so we both had to work extremely hard to get where we are. You know what I mean? By him being my first client, like I said, like he's from New Orleans, I'm from New Orleans. He went to a small school. I'm trying to do it on my own and not sign with a big time agency. So it's like, it's just like, it's meant to be, you know? So, the plan is to keep it rolling, you know, to be the guy in New Orleans, you know, for these guys, because we have so many athletes and they go everywhere, man, like all over the nation. And they go all over the nation and they end up at these big schools. And I want it to be where there's no hesitation. Like, let me call Rob. Let me sign with Plan 365. So Dai'Jean is a big part of that process. That's definitely got it started for me.
That's awesome. And you're picking up new clients now. You got even more coming in. You're building out the network a little bit more. How excited are you with where things are headed?
I'm pretty excited, man. I signed Bruce Jordan-Swilling.
Dope.
I just signed him. Yeah, man. So I signed him probably like 3 weeks ago. And I'm excited for him. We got a plan in place for him to really get this going and to really get this moving. And I really believe he'll be in the NFL next year for sure.
Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Yeah. So let me ask you this: has there been? You've known you've wanted to do this since high school. Yes, has there been any deal that you've watched come down, get announced? Ian Rappaport tweets out somebody's deal, and then you're like, "Man, let me renegotiate that for you."
Right. I'm gonna be honest, man. Like with my process, not so much. There's a couple of deals out there you scratch your head on, you know, and like, man, but I try not to really like pay attention to it. If it's, especially fair. Like if it's not like my client, like I just, I was just really trying to like focus on, like becoming an agent and stuff like that. But sometimes it is a head scratcher, like what y'all doing though, but I just keep it moving.
I see a lot of players now that are sort of working on negotiating their own deal. What's so important about the sort of dynamic between a player and agent?
I think it's really important, but I'll be honest with you, man. I'm one of those agents where like I actually preach that. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the younger cats that I deal with, he plays for LSU. We just got off the phone and, we were talking about them like, look, man, negotiate your own contract. I'll show you. I'll give you the blueprint. If you really want to do it, you know what I'm saying?
But then he could just do it with the guidance of an agent.
Yeah, you can do it with the guidance of me, but I actually encourage that, but I think with the agent, we just take a lot of stress off and, like you can just go do what you have to do and we'll get it done, you know, but if you want to do it, I'm not that type. I'm not the agent that is against that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I actually like the idea of doing it.
All right, y'all. Coming up next, is there a certain point throughout draft day or the draft week that clients and their players just say, hey, let's hope we go undrafted so we can pick our own destination? Robert talks about that as well as more around the idea of what it's like to go through the NFL draft process as a prospect. We got that coming up for you as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints. Don't forget as well to check out our friends over at Built.com, the best tasting protein bar on the market right now. The Coconut Brownie Chunk Puff Bar is back. So that Coconut Brownie Chunk Bar that everyone loves, that everyone adores, and that sells out so fast, well, now they have it with fluffy, marshmallowy goodness as well. And you get the blend of all of those textures. You get the chocolate covered, right? It's 100% covered in real chocolate. You get the marshmallow fluff. You get the coconut brownie bites. You get the little coconuts on top as well. Oh, it's just so dang good. So go check it out before they all sell out. You can also check out the other puff bars, the Built granola bars, and your standard protein bars as well, all covered in 100% chocolate, 18 grams of protein, only 4 or 5 grams of sugar. The macros are great, and they're good for paleo folks too. So make sure you go and check them out wherever you are looking at your phone, it doesn't matter. Wherever you got your internet, head over to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, so you can get 15% off. That's 15% off with the promo code LOCKED15 at Built.com. All right, family, continuing on with today's episode of Locked On Saints. Thanks again for making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day. Which NFL stars move betting lines the most? Well, we went and asked the only people that could truly answer that question to get you the real most valuable players across the NFL. The top 50 brought to you by BetOnline and the odds makers there, all premiering here throughout the week. We've seen 2 New Orleans Saints on the list already, and Alvin Kamara and Jameis Winston. Will we see another before the list is out? Go and check it out wherever you get your podcast with Locked On NFL, and of course on YouTube as well. Continuing on with today's episode here, talking with Robert Brock of Plan 365. This time we're kind of shifting the focus a little bit over to the NFL draft process, and what it's like for a prospect. Is there a certain time that you just hope that this guy goes undrafted so you can actually pick your destination? Robert's here to talk about that and much more. All right, y'all, we're rolling right along here with Robert Brock at Blessed Agent RB, NFL agent over at Plan 365 and representative of New Orleans Saints' own wide receiver Dai'Jean Dixon. Now, Dejean just went through the draft process. You've got some players now signed that you expect to go through the draft process as well here in the coming years. What would you say is one of the most important elements of that process? Is it the workouts? Is it getting ready for interviews? Is it a little bit of all of the above, or something else we don't even think about from the outside?
Man, I'm gonna be honest. One thing is really like, because the draft process is really long. You know, you go, and a player like his season ended, like he was signed to me in November. So the draft didn't happen until, like May. So that's a long time,
right?
So you really have to be patient. But it's all of the things you mentioned, man. Like you gotta prepare for the interviews. You have to train. You have to do all those things. You have to eat right. But most importantly, you have to be patient, because guys get they get bored, because it's the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
Until the combine and stuff like that. And then even after the combine, it's just more training, more interviews. It's just it's a slow process. So I really would say patience for sure.
That's great. And I'm sure that patience comes through big time on draft night as well, while these guys are waiting for their names to be called.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How do you coach them through that in terms of, the expectation versus the reality of what it's like to go through that process?
Man, you really just gotta be genuine and be honest with the player. Me and Dejean, we had talks about him going undrafted. And the Saints, it's kind of like recruiting in a way. Like the Saints was always on him. Like they always called at the NFLPA Bowl. They really liked him a lot. So I built a great relationship with the Saints and a couple other teams too. But the Saints really liked him, and we had the conversation a couple of days before the draft, and we talked about just in case we do go and draft it, what would you want to do, who would you want to play for, and stuff like that. And I asked him, and he said the Saints. He was and the Saints reached out on draft day before the draft and stuff, so it kind of was an option,
Yep.
But yeah, man, the Saints was on him, man, and they never let up. Even throughout the draft, I was in contact with them and stuff like that. But you just got to be patient. But we didn't want to pull the trigger too early, so we were just waiting because they called us and gave us an offer and stuff, and we just wanted to wait to see what was going to happen.
Yeah. Was there a lot of contact with the team in the pre-draft process as well? Did they mention at all what it was that they liked about his game and sort of the fit that they would have for him in New Orleans?
Yeah, they did. A lot of the teams, they love Dejean, man, because he's a big receiver and he has for sure hands. So those for sure hands, they're very enticing to any team.
For real. Especially after the year the Saints had last year. Let's be real.
Right, exactly. And the thing, what I like about him too, he's 6'4", and he can go get the ball at the highest point.
Right.
So teams really love that about him too, but he has for sure hands. He's strong, he's physical, he's big, he's even fast too, so he's a total package.
Gotta love that. Was there a certain point in the draft as like maybe day 3 rolled along that you were kind of saying, okay, we kind of want to go undrafted now so that you can pick where you're going? Like, is there value in that?
To me, nah. Because I feel like, I mean, if you get drafted, you get drafted. But what I did tell Dejean, I'm like, look, whether you go 7th or undrafted or even 6th, like, you're still in the same position. Like, you guys are still competing against each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, you're still in the same predicament. You know, like, either way, you have to go compete. You know, so at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do, whether you get drafted or not. So that was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Just whatever opportunity you get, just take advantage of it, no matter what.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah, and it feels like the New Orleans Saints are a little bit of a unique place because of their relationship with undrafted free agents, right? They've always got undrafted free agents making the roster.
Yeah. Right. So, and now that did play a part because we had a couple more options, but like I said, the Saints were always in communication with me, like throughout the whole process, even on draft day. And I'm from New Orleans, so I know like the history of the Saints, and I know they do an undrafted guy. So you been undrafted to New Orleans, that's not like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a good situation, New Orleans becoming, being undrafted for sure.
More with Robert Brock on the way, including whether or not Dai'Jean Dixon will be a future star in the NFL, what it is that made Robert believe in him in the first place, and why I'm right that he'll be an absolute training camp stud. We're going to break all of that down as we continue on and wrap up today's episode of Locked On Saints. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. Wrapping up today's episode with Robert Brock speaking on Dai'Jean Dixon and why he is going to be a name to watch at New Orleans Saints training camp and hopefully beyond. All right, y'all, we're continuing on here with Robert Brock, wrapping this up. NFL agent over at Plan 365 and representative for Dai'Jean Dixon, undrafted free agent wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. We've kind of talked a little bit already about the qualities that Dejean brings to the field, but what is it that you feel like sets Dejean apart when you're talking to teams about him?
Honestly, man, what I like about him the most is he's big, but he can sink his hips like really well, and he moves like a smaller receiver. He can do a lot of things that a 5'10" receiver can do. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, like, he has for sure hands. My first time seeing him in person, he caught everything his way. Like, it was unbelievable. So he has for sure hands. Whether the ball is too low, too high, he's going to catch it. So that's like his most prized possession in hands, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's the case. And when you look at where he is on, you know, the city of New Orleans Saints fans, they care so much about players, not only how they perform on the field, but who they are off the field. Dejean has always come off as a very mature person that, you know, is very family oriented. What do Saints fans need to know about Dejean?
That's everything you just said, man. I tell him all the time. I'm like, bro, you're so mature. Like, and he really is, man. Like, he's super mature. He's a family guy. He has a son. He loves his mom. He loves his brothers. And I think that's why we mesh so well, because I'm the same way. You know, we like to give back. We're going to do a lot for the community in New Orleans, man. And we're going to give guys, you know, motivation and opportunity to do what he did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's definitely a mature guy and definitely a family-oriented guy for sure.
I love hearing you mention that. Oh, yeah. I love hearing you mention that because you've seen it, right? You've come up here. You've seen the connection between the New Orleans Saints and the community around them is unique. And I'm sure that that's something y'all want to play a role in as well.
Exactly. And I told him before, I'm like, you know, because like I said, it was like 2 other teams. And I'm like, listen, the thing about the Saints fans, if you catch one touchdown, bro, once you catch one touchdown, bro, like, you're good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the community will love you, you know? So the Saints fans are like, it's a tight-knit group, man. They are definitely like in it, you know? So all he has to do is play well, man, and he can do big things in the community, and they're going to love him.
I've talked about Dejean as somebody that I feel like is going to have some standout moments in training camp, right? Those big catches, making those kind of 50-50 ball type catches, things like that. Am I right to assume that from your perspective?
For sure, man. I'm excited to see what he can do in the pass, especially against the vets. I can't wait for him to do that at the NFL level, and he's the type of player where if you have a 50-50 ball, you can put your money on him any day. He's going to go get it for sure.
Is there any element of his game that you're looking forward to seeing take a step forward? Maybe run after catch, some other piece that's not necessarily about the hands or about those 50-50 balls. Is there something you're looking forward to seeing him take a step forward in?
I believe he could really he could take the top off the defense. Like if you put him in, a certain lineup, his speed is slept on. So I think he'll really surprise a lot of people by taking the top off and making some big plays, like some 50, 60-yard plays. He has the ability to do that for sure.
Now he's got the right quarterback to do that with, right?
Exactly. I'm telling you, man. He can definitely do it, bro. It's possible. He can get up there.
I know that he spent a little bit of time with Jameis. Have you gotten a bit of a feel in terms of like what that relationship is like and how, Jameis has been as a leader through Dejean's eyes?
Yeah, man. So Jameis, they exchange phone numbers, and they communicate and text a lot now. It's actually like a fast growing relationship, and it's pretty dope, bro, because Jameis invited him to Miami and he was pretty excited about because they only known each other probably for about, a couple of weeks. And for him to get that invite, it was motivational. So I feel like so far Jameis likes him a lot.
I love that. If you talk about building chemistry with anybody on that New Orleans Saints roster, Jameis Winston and that cannon of an arm is absolutely the right one to build a connection with.
For sure, yeah. I tell them all the time, I'm like, that's the perfect person to build the chemistry with, man, because even at camp, that chemistry is going to show, and then it'll translate and, the coaches will see that chemistry. So I'm excited to see what they can do together. Yeah,
we're looking forward to seeing Dejean at camp. I'm going to be out there starting up next week when everything gets underway. And, of course, we'll be keeping a close eye on your big guy out there out of Nichols. Robert Brock at Blessed Agent RB on Twitter, NFL agent over at Plan 365 and representative for New Orleans Saints undrafted free agent wide receiver in Dejean Dixon. Man, I appreciate you so much for taking the time and chopping it up with me here on today's episode.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man.
All right, family. Big thank you once again to Robert Brock, representative of wide receiver from the New Orleans Saints, Dai'Jean Dixon, for coming through on the show. We'll be watching very closely to see Dejean's progress throughout training camp and hopefully be able to talk about him a little bit through the season as well. Coming up in tomorrow's episode, where will the New Orleans Saints need to evolve in order to be successful in 2022? We've kind of scattered these answers around over the course of the last couple of weeks, but let's bring it all together to wrap up the week. Where the New Orleans Saints need to get better, where they need to evolve as a team in order to be successful next season. We're going to break all of that down in tomorrow's episode of Locked On Saints. I appreciate you as always for coming through and making us your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget, for your second listen, make sure you're going to check out that Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler and Alex bringing you everything you need on this Thursday morning. So make sure you go and check it out wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. As always, y'all, I appreciate you so much for making me a part of your day. If you see me, say hi, and for everything you need in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you're living. Let me know how your mom and them. And trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.